To how to efficiently build WordPress websites with Divi. My name is Chris and I've been freelancing as a web developer for the last 3 years, often working with WordPress. Over the years, I've come to learn how to build WordPress websites the right way. And what I mean by that is how to build sites efficiently that are also able to be easily updated and maintained down the track. You see, when I built my first website, I decided to build my own theme from scratch. I took a 7-hour class just to learn the basics and then spent the next few weeks working on my website full time to get it to work. Not only did it take me a long time to build, every time I wanted to update it, even just to change some text on a landing page, I needed to jump into the back-end code and update the website manually. Trust me, it's a pain in the ass, and I wondered to myself, how do professional freelancers and agencies make WordPress sites? Surely they don't spend 40 hours a week building a single site. What is it I'm missing here? Well, it wasn't until I spent months and years freelancing with WordPress, speaking to other developers and working for agencies that I realized the right way to develop WordPress sites. Now, don't get me wrong, if you want to create your own theme to sell as a product on ThemeForest or similar marketplaces, be my guest. But for building quick and highly customizable WordPress websites for clients, you don't want to have to reinvent the wheel each time you're tasked with a new site development. So, in this course, I'm going to teach you how to develop and update WordPress websites much faster by customizing a premium theme like Divi. Divi is now what I use for developing all my own websites as well as websites for clients, and I've found it to be one of the most versatile and efficient themes to create whatever layout or design you please. So, if you're ready to learn the right way to developing WordPress websites, click on the next video and let's get started. Alright, so before we get started, you're going to need a few things. Number 1, some prior skills. You're going to need some basic knowledge of HTML, CSS, and PHP, and some basic webmaster skills, i.e. how to host and use tools to update your website. If this is your first course on web development and you're not familiar with the basics, I definitely recommend you watch my first Skillshare class, Understanding Web Development, which will give you the beginner knowledge to take part in this class. As for our tech stack, it's very basic. Number 1, we're going to need a server, which is a place to host your new website. We're going to need WordPress, and we're going to need Divi. Hosting we covered in Understanding Web Development, and we covered a bit of installing WordPress. Divi of course is a custom premium theme, so it does come with a cost. Finally, the tools you'll need to develop your WordPress site include a code editor, an FTP client, and if you're building your site locally, a PHP web server like MAMP on Mac or WAMP on PC. But again, all of those were covered in my last class, so you should now understand that and be ready to put that into practice. If not, maybe review some of those parts of the previous class and revisit us here when you're ready. So I think that covers what we'll need to get started. I'll see you in the next video where we'll discuss WordPress and Divi and how together we can build WordPress websites super fast and yet fully customizable at the same time. If you took my previous course, Understanding Web Development, you would have been introduced to WordPress through the bonus lesson at the end of the class. To recap, WordPress is basically a free and open source content management system based on PHP and MySQL. Essentially, it's a bunch of code which lays at the foundation for a content-based website. But what do I mean when I say content-based website? Well, if you've ever read an online blog or read through pages of a company website, then you've interacted with a content-based website. It's simply a website that can display content, whether that be a bunch of pages or blog posts that get released on a regular basis. Most websites, I would say, fit this model of a content-based site. That is to say that the website is simply a source of content where the primary purpose of the website is for users to consume content. That's it. To compare that with what's called a web app, web apps provide some sort of custom functionality. For instance, Google Docs. It's a place where you can write, edit, and view shared documents. Facebook, another web app for social networking and connecting with friends. and Dropbox, an app for file storage. Now, while content-based websites that are built on WordPress could be considered apps as well, they all share a basic functionality, which is to share content. Whereas all the examples I previously mentioned, they all do something very different. Basically, unless you want to develop a new piece of software to rival Facebook or Airbnb, then most of the time when somebody says they want a website, they're probably talking about a content-based website. And WordPress is definitely the most popular software for developing these sort of sites. In fact, according to some sources, it powers almost a third of the internet. Popularity of a particular platform is a good thing because this means that there is a huge community of developers who provide support and create thousands of themes and plugins for your WordPress site. Wait, what are themes and plugins? I'm glad you asked because I was just about to cover them right now.
All right, so when you install a WordPress site, you will get the following design. So basically, it'll look like this. This will be customized based on what you put in the form when you install. We're going to go over installation later. But basically, this is your blog title, and this is your, I think it's called tagline, which ends up as a subheading. So that's dynamic from when you do the installation. But this look with the pot and the hello world down here will be the same if you're releasing a WordPress site right now at the same time this course was recorded. So the disclaimer here is that WordPress changes their theme every year. They bring out a new default theme. So if you're doing this course later in the year or 2019, 2020, the default theme probably has changed by then. But for right now, anyone who installs WordPress gets this theme, which is called 2017. Even though it's 2018, they haven't released the 2018 theme yet. So what we want to do now, just to show you themes and plugins, is go into our WordPress dashboard. And I'm currently logged out now, so I'm going to have to put in my login details. I have saved these here. These are the ones we're going to use in the later video on installing WordPress. But it's basically whatever you set up when you install WordPress. And what you get is the WordPress dashboard. So this is it. The front end of your website is what we saw before. This is what you'll see. And if you're logged in, you will get this bar up here, which just shows you that you're logged in, and then you can go and do dashboard. And then depending on what plugins or things you have installed, there might be more up here. And in fact, using Divi, there will be some new buttons that come up here. Also, certain parts of the page that you are able to edit as a admin, you'll be able to edit logged in. So that's your front side of your website, and this is your dashboard that only you see or only users of your website see and can go in. And then all these fields, all these little menus are stuff that only admins can see. So the first thing I want to talk about is themes. So you go into Appearance, click on Themes, and you can see here the theme I was talking about, 2017, is installed. If you installed this back in 2015, you would have got that as your default theme. In 2016, you would have got that as your default theme. You can go in here and you can live preview and see what your theme would look like if you were to use that theme. So rather than switching over straight away, you can have a little bit of a preview. If you like it, great, you can activate and publish, or you can change some of the settings here and then activate and publish, and you'll get that theme. Now, to explain themes a little bit, it's basically like the skin of your website. It'll organize layout and stuff. If we look at the preview of 2017 here, it's got this big image with your blog title and subheading. Tagline is what they call it in WordPress. And then you've got the menu bar, and it's kind of a parallax thing, so the image doesn't change, but the content comes up from the bottom. Now, there's of course some customization with this. We can set this to a page with static content on it rather than a list of all the blog posts. There's a lot we can do, but basically the skin or the layout will be is dictated by the theme. And actually, one of the reasons why I like using Divi as a theme is it starts out pretty bare, so it doesn't do anything crazy with the layout. It just has a menu bar, the sidebar. It's pretty minimal, which is good because It gives us a lot of room for customization. So once we install Divi and start using it, you will start to understand themes a little better. But the other main things that we plug into WordPress is aptly named plugins. So you can go into here and you can see what plugins we have already installed. These are some default plugins that have come with this WordPress install. And if we wanted to add new, there are thousands and thousands of plugins. So what are plugins? Plugins are basically extra functionality that can go into your project. So if we wanted to add sort of edit our meta description, which we will do in a future video, I will go over some of the more popular plugins. We can add a SEO plugin. We can add things like Google Analytics. And there's some ones that do very basic functionality, which is just cloning a page. Sounds very basic, but WordPress doesn't include it by default. So somebody, duplicate page is the one I use. So somebody made a plugin that you can duplicate pages with. So to summarize themes and plugins, themes is like your skin. It's the layout. It's what the website is built on. You dictate what goes in the pages, but the layout and basic styling is determined by the theme. Plugins give your website new functionality that it didn't have before. There is a trade-off with plugins. Sometimes they add too much. It can weigh down your website. So if all it requires is a small code change and you're happy to go in and change the code, then you're fine. Otherwise, sometimes it's best to use a plugin. All right, so that should establish what a theme and a plugin is. I want to show you, once we go into a certain theme, there's an option to customize. Now, this is set up by the theme developer. They choose what to put in this customize menu. So you're only limited by what the theme developer decided to put in here. But what we can do is put in our own logo. We can change the site title and tagline, which is the thing that comes up here. We can choose to not show them at all. And some of these changes will show up live as we're doing them. We can change color scheme. So yeah, down here it's going to be light text on a dark background rather than dark text on a light background. We can create menus here. We can create widgets here, which probably best to do them in the dashboard. But basically, let's just create one change. I kind of like this dark background, so I'm going to click on that and then I'm going to click publish. And that's going to make our changes live. So now that was just a preview. Now it's live because it says published here. Now that is probably the first place you would go to customize your theme, but you can go very deep. And how deep you can go is you can actually dig into the code. So you can go down to here to editor, and you have full source code control of your theme. So WordPress is giving us a warning. You do have the ability to mess up your whole website if you mess around with the PHP templates, and it's not advised you do stuff in here without knowing what you're doing or what you're trying to achieve. I'm going to click understand, and then we see our theme files here. And this one is the style sheets. That's got all of our styles. And then we've got all these template files, which I'll explain a bit later in the course. But basically what I wanted to get at here is this is what makes WordPress powerful. You have kind of top level customization options that allow you to change things. So clicking on customize again, you can go into sort of visual builders and click in and change things how you would do on any website without any code. But then if you need to go deeper, maybe there isn't something here that you can change, you can go right into the code, and the entire code base is completely open source. So I have a local install right here that I can show you. This is something I'm going to set up later in the course in the installing WordPress locally. But as you can see, this is WordPress right here. Yes, there is a database as well, which is completely editable. But here are all your files. And if we go into WP content, then we go into themes, then we go into 2017, this will match up with what's here. So you see we have the style sheet here, style sheet there. The functions.php file, very important, is there, and it's also there. So you can edit it here or you can edit it here. So the point I'm making is full customization of the code base, and also the benefit of having a dashboard in which you can go in and change things without having to dig into the code. And that is what makes WordPress really powerful, and that's why it is a very, very popular CMS.